Hello everyone, welcome to Vajiram and Ravi's Data Stories, your one-stop solution for the value addition of data. In today's session, we will be continuing the infrastructure part where in detail we will be discussing railways today. Let us begin with straight up data, understanding the transformation and modernization that has taken place, especially when we are talking about Indian Railways. So the first thing that we are going to discuss today is electrification. Now when we are looking at electrification of railway tracks, we count it in RKM, that is railway kilometers, and when we look at it has gone up from 20% to 99.6%. That means there is saving worth rupees 6,000 crores which used to go in fuel. The diesel cut that we are seeing because of electrification is almost 180 crore liters. So now the second thing that we need to look today is the railway capital expenditure that we have seen for the financial year 2025. Now that also has seen a substantial increase when we are talking about from 93,520 crores to 2.65 lakh crores. That means there has been an increase of 12%. Passengers, again relatively stable if we are seeing year on year increase, but if we see decadal growth, it is immense. As compared to the last financial year, 716 crore has gone up to 741 crores. Now when we are looking at this number, another important factor to remember right here is that at present we are the fourth largest railway network present across the world with more than 25,000 trains running every day. Now apart from that, when we are looking at the modernization part, big factor here is the addition of Vande Bharat trains. That means we are looking at 164 trains if we are talking about December 2025, which includes 102 which are in chair car, and then sleeper versions have also been launched. Apart from that, when we are talking about modernization, a very important factor here is the Kavach Safety System, because the biggest concern when we are talking about such a huge network is about the collisions. We have seen multiple accidents in past, and to ensure safety from that, we have Kavach Safety System. As of now, it only covers 3100 RKM which has been commissioned. As of now, 24,400 kilometers, they are already under implementation, and we are looking at the elimination of specially head-on collisions that have been present in train. Now, when we are looking at the comparison of the tracks, when we are looking at electrification, which is 99.6% increase, and it is covering 69,000 more kilometers, and when we look at what has been yet to be implemented in terms of Kavach Safety System, there seems a huge lack. Now, all for these indicators, let us look into a little more detail also, starting with electrification. When we are talking about electrification, route kilometer that we have seen, as I mentioned, has seen a humongous increase, and that is more than 99.6% as compared to 2014. Capital expenditure, when we are looking, again compared to financial year 16, we are seeing a monumental increase of 2.6 lakh crore. Another big factor that you need to remember when we are talking about transformation is about incentives. So what we are seeing that the commissioning rates, they also have doubled, especially if we are comparing from 2014. Now looking at freight and dedicated freight corridors, which is a major source of revenue for the railways, because when we are talking about passengers, that is a loss-making avenue. But this is where railway comes in and gets its profit. When we are looking at freight revenue, it contributes somewhat around 64%, and 36% comes from the passenger revenue. So freight revenue is how much? Almost 1.78 lakh crores. But when we are looking at freight being the revenue generator, recent initiatives of dedicated freight corridor are going to be a game changer for railways. For example, when we are looking at Western dedicated freight corridor, which runs from Rewari to JNPT, that is going to come up as one of the mega ports for India for global trade. Now this is almost 1300 kilometers plus. Then we are looking at Eastern dedicated freight corridor from Ludhiana to Sonipat. And when we are talking about freight movement, one of the biggest challenges for railways was the speed, which used to be less than 26 km per hour at max this, but now the speed can be up to 50 to 60 km per hour because of dedicated freight corridors. Then there have been double stack trains which have been enabled so that container trains can move on Western Dedicated Freight Corridor, that has been another initiative. We are also looking at 3 new economic rail corridors which have been announced in the budget of 2024-25. That means there will be a separate corridor for energy, mineral and cement. There will be a separate corridor for port connectivity and the other one for high traffic. This falls under PM Gati Shakti. And when we are talking about freight revenue and saying that this is where railway makes the profits, it is still unfortunate that when we are talking about the freight share, which for India is 30%, the global average is 60%. So this is where we see that dedicated freight corridors will be the game changer to move towards the global average. Now looking more data especially on new train schemes, when we are talking about new train scheme modernization, we have to focus on Vande Bharat fleet growth. Feb 2019, only one train, that was the first train that was announced. If we are looking at the present number, it has gone more than 120 plus. Upcoming, there are multiple Vande Bharat trains which have been planned. Amrit Bharat trains, 100 train sets they have been planned, which will be facilitating the underprivileged section. And then we have Namo Bharat, that is regional rapid transportation system. As of now, currently functioning between Delhi to Meerut, and upcoming phases are also going to be seen. Now moving towards the end, looking at modernization, when we are talking about stations that have been targeted for redevelopment are more than 1200. Stations that have already been redeveloped, more than 1300. And when we are talking about high speed rail, that is the bullet train, already expected on Mumbai-Ahmedabad route of almost 508 km. Can you tell me in the comment section which country we have partnered with for this very bullet train? Now moving towards the end, looking at certain challenges and concerns such as financial health, safety and structural challenges. So when we are looking at the operating ratio of financial year 2025, it is 98.9%. That means whatever has been earned, if 100 rupees has been earned, then 98.9 has been spent. But when we are looking at the revenue that is being generated internally, how much of it is spent on capital expenditure, that is 1%. Staff pension share, that is a huge number here that we are seeing even after 10-year average, that is 69%. There are certain structural challenges such as Indian Railways has not been able to generate a revenue surplus that they can use for capital expenditure. And add to that, this number is absolutely unsustainable. Apart from that, passenger fares, they are kept intentionally low because this is a way of cross subsidy. Then when we are looking at ATP, which we are introducing through Kavach, that only covers 3100 RKM. 99% of CapEx is financed by government or loans. Railway freight, again limited. Accident risk remains high, especially on tri-sections, and we still see multiple accidents, multiple open crossings and more. Bullet train project as of now is delayed. Land acquisition and cost overrun is present in front of us as of now. Now that was all for today's session. Thank you so much. We will be adding another part to infrastructure where we will be looking into other dimensions. That was all for today. Thank you so much.